Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Travel Show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com. This week's show's in two halves. There's no travel news because I've got far too much interesting information to try and squeeze in for an hour. The second part of the show is about Barcelona, or Greater Barcelona, which was a new announcement which is only a couple of days old by the time you hear this. The tourist boards of Barcelona, Barcelona Province and Catalunya are getting together to unveil Greater Barcelona so they can have a push on the region as a tourist destination. And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, especially if you've been to Barcelona a few times. You can have a source where you can look at the outskirts and get a more rounded experience of your time there. You know what I'm like when it comes to pronouncing names, so I'll introduce the two guys closer to the interview so I can only have one attempt at it, and I'm not going to get it wrong all the way through the show. But first, the Traveling Chimps. I first spoke to the Traveling Chimps back in August 2014. They're a family who decided to sell up and travel around the USA, and they talked about why they did it and how they're doing it and the homeschooling. And it's a chance to catch up. I didn't realise it had been so long since we last chatted. I have been following them on Twitter and their blog account, but time soon flies, doesn't it? Especially when you're knocking on a bit like me. So this interview with the Traveling Chimps, Andrea and CJ, is recorded in two parts. Let's see if you can see when the second part was recorded. If you're paying attention, you will be able to figure it out. It's all via Skype, and, you know, technology forever letting people down. It's very good when it works. And you can't complain too much because, as you know, Skype is free. So we're going to start talking about who the Traveling Chimps are, to recap for those who remember the original interview. And for those of you who are new to them, you're going to find out a bit about them too. So I suppose we should start at the beginning and find out who the Traveling Chimps are.
So the Traveling Chimps are myself, CJ, and my wife, Andrea. And then we have two kids, a 7-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son, Tess and Jack. So we make up the Traveling Chimps, four of us. Oh, and our dog. We travel with an English bulldog named Brutus as well. And he's 8, almost 8.
Oh, yeah. You can't forget the dog, can you?
No, I know. He's definitely an integral part of the Traveling Chimps.
So how long ago did you decide you're going to start traveling across the USA?
So I think we decided in February of 2014 or January of 2014. Mm-hmm. And by March of 2014, we had basically sold off all of our stuff and were on the road. Our first stop was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I think was our first night.
So before you started traveling, what was the typical day or week like in the Singer household?
So let's see. So prior to that, I was working for a large facilities management company, and I spent pretty much Monday through Friday traveling around the United States at different client sites. And Andrea was typically home with the kids, raising and teaching them. And that kind of got old. I did that for probably 4 years or so. Mm-hmm. And definitely took its toll. That gets old. I mean, it's kind of cool getting to travel around and see places, but not being home isn't fun. It's not a good trade-off. How about that?
So, what was there a special moment that made you decide, right, that's it, I'm not doing it anymore, or was it just a gradual build-up?
I think it was more of a gradual build-up. I would say there wasn't really like a definitive moment where something snapped. I think it was just building up. I could feel that I needed to stop doing that.
Well, for me, there was a moment because Tess asked where Dad really lives.
Oh, right. That's true. That is true.
So that broke my heart. I was like, he lives here. And she's like, but no, he doesn't. Where does he sleep? Where does he live?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got to be a heartbreaker. So what was your reaction to your friends and family when you said, that's it, you're traveling from now
on? I think that we basically announced it on Facebook. We did a blog post, I think our first blog post at travelingchimps.com, and we shared it on Facebook. And if I remember correctly, it's been a couple of years now, but I remember it being an overwhelmingly positive response from people.
Yeah, we told our parents in person. I think our parents were a little concerned.
Yeah, rightfully so. It does sound a little scary at first.
It's a parent's job to be concerned, whatever you do, isn't it?
That's true. I think I'd probably similarly as a parent, in fairness to them.
Yeah, 29 years ago, my in-laws were concerned I was dating their daughter, but we're still going, so... So how did it go? You started travelling. Was there any major surprises that came across, or was it all as you expected it was going to be?
I don't know if we really had an expectation. I will say that we initially used a tool called My Scenic Drives. We used this tool to kind of map out at least the first section. So we were leaving Pennsylvania, and we needed to be in California in basically a month to do a house sit. So that's how we do all of our traveling, is through house sitting. And we knew we needed to be there within 3 to 4 weeks. And we knew we didn't want to be in the car for really long distances because the kids and the dog, that doesn't bode well.
We wanted to top it off at 5 hours max.
Right. We were trying to keep it at like 5 hours max. So we used this tool, this online tool called My Scenic Drives, to sort of map out our itinerary. And I got to say that within 24 hours, we basically got rid of that whole plan. And we were off the plan within a day. And I think what we adopted very quickly was just sort of a fly by your pants mentality.
You have to be open to anything that's going to happen, especially with kids and a dog.
Absolutely. And I think we've kind of kept that same attitude for the last couple of years. So, I don't know what we expected. I think we expected cool stuff, and I think we got cool stuff. I think it's been pretty amazing. We've driven the entirely around the United States through 2014, and we've now driven up and down the eastern seaboard
4 times.
Yeah, like 4 times or something like that. So, and we're getting ready. We're currently, just so you guys know where we're currently at. We're currently back in Pennsylvania, hanging out at my mom's house this week, and we're getting ready to leave here to drive to Mexico.
Mexico, that's going to be quite an experience, isn't it?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. So we're doing a house sit in Mexico for basically the rest of the year. Yeah.
8 months.
The rest of the year.
You're listening to The Travel Show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com. Still to come on the show, why you should visit Barcelona and the surrounding areas, or Greater Barcelona as they're going to start calling it, with their new tourism initiative. When I speak to a representative of the Barcelona Tourist Board and somebody who covers the Barcelona Province Council as well, the travel there. But at the moment I'm speaking to Andrea and CJ, the senior members of the Traveling Chimps, I suppose you could say. We've covered the basics, and they've done a lot of touring, but I just wanted to know if they've had any long stays in one place, whether enforced or not, and if they're travelling just sort of ground to a halt for a little while, and we're about to find out.
Yeah, we basically were in Washington, D.C. for 2015. Most of the year we were there.
Yeah, for a bit.
So that's the longest we've been in one spot. The last time we spoke with you, we were in St. Petersburg, Florida, doing a house sit, and that house sit was about 4 months long. So we try to I think we try to do house sits that are at least 3 weeks or longer.
Yeah, it makes it more worth our while to drive to them.
Exactly. And we like to sort of, what we call slow travel or road schooling. We like to spend at least enough time in areas where we can kind of get a real cultural feel for the area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's easier on the kids, too, than to constantly up and leave someplace.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You're educating your kids on the road, aren't you? And I think I remember you said you registered for Texas because that allowed you to be able to do that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Texas is what they consider a green state. So there's a map online that kind of maps out all 50 states and how stringent their homeschooling credentials are or programs and whatnot. And Texas is considered a green one. Not that they don't have any rules, because they do, but
not as stringent and strict as some of the other states.
Yeah.
When you're in DC for so long, did you still do the homeschooling, or did Tess and Jack go to a
No, I still
proper school?
homeschooled.
You still homeschooled.
But we found a great community of other homeschoolers there, and we joined like a co-op together. And on one day a week, we would get together and do some classes where the parents taught.
Yeah.
That way they could get a sense of community, and the kids could be around other kids, and they consistently knew the same kids.
That sounds like a lot of fun. More fun than the school I was at, anyway.
Yeah, it really was. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they were, our daughter does gymnastics, and our son was doing parkour.
And he joined a marimba band.
Right, he was in a marimba band as well.
Oh, that's the parkour's jumping over walls and things, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I'd like to do that, but I haven't really got the figure or the bone structure for it, I don't think. Yeah, no way. Your long break in Washington, D.C., was that house sitting, or was that because you just couldn't move anywhere?
No, I actually had gotten an opportunity for work in the area and needed to kind of be in one spot. So I took it as sort of a learning experience. And it was definitely a learning experience. And I'm still somewhat involved there. I do consulting work, and they've now become a client. So it was a good move, and we got to enjoy Washington D.C., which actually, we were there and kind of had no expectations of it.
Yeah, maybe even low. People kept saying
yeah, everyone
it's
kept
dangerous
saying,
there.
yeah.
It's gross there. But I actually fell in love with the city. I loved it.
Yeah, I did too. It was great. It actually was quite a surprise.
When you were stopping and you were working, did you have any of your friends and family saying, "Oh, I knew it wouldn't last. I knew you'd stop," or was everybody really supportive? I know my family would go, "I told you so." Did you have any of that?
No, not one person said anything like that.
Well, maybe because we never moved back to a home.
Yeah, that's true.
Like where we're from or anything.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Oh, so you had an easy time, because I definitely wouldn't. No way. So how do you find the houses that you're going to be sitting in? Is there a bulletin board? I'm showing my age now. Bulletin board or a website or just a network of people you know?
So two things basically. So at this point we've done a bunch of house sits. So we actually kind of have a little bit of a customer base now. So we've actually done some repeat house sits at this point.
We've also met people through those people.
That's true.
Who have now given us house sits.
That's true as well. And then the third thing is we use websites. There's a couple of websites that we
Trusted
use.
House Sitters, House Carers, House Sitters America.
Right. Those three are pretty much the three that we've had the most success with. Okay. And I think that the fact that we're a family kind of plays well for us. I think people trust us because, we're not